Hi and welcome back to the channel, and in today's episode we keep on pushing on with the Forest Weapon. So in the last episode we had to get a fair bit done, and we still have. However, we are making some progress. We needed a few bits and pieces. Number one on that list was the bush for the shifter, so that we could fit the shifter at the right height and get the tail shaft in. So thankfully, tick, that has been done and all sorted out. Also, we have got the rear end of the car sorted out. Both the rear hubs are now done and in, so we got rid of the drum brake rear end, put the WRX rear end in there, and hooked all that up with drive shafts, connected that up to the diff. So the whole rear end drive line is all done, and the tail shaft's in. So that's also a good thing, getting that tail shaft put in. It then allowed us to get onto the front end of the car and start sorting things out there. So a pair of brand new drive shafts have gone in at the front, along with brand new rotors. We have to sort calipers out for that still. We'll put 4-pot Sumitomo calipers in there, and we could hook up the whole front suspension. Now, the sharp-eyed amongst you may have noticed that we have got steel lower control arms in there rather than aluminium. Yes, the STI arms are aluminium, and we could put GD STI aluminium arms in there. They have a little bit more caster than the standard WRX, or in fact the GC STI ones as well, and we may do that. But at the moment, for the time being, just to get this thing up and rolling, we need some lower control arms in it, and so therefore the steel Forester XT arms are in there at the moment. We've also got all of the suspension installed in terms of the gravel rally suspension. The struts are all in. STD remote canister 50mm stuff is all installed, and that will be tuned and set up as we go along with the build. But anyway, the car is now effectively set up with its driveline all connected. With a big chunk of the mechanical work done, it's now time to tackle some brake lines and fuel lines. Back in episode 1 we talked about those. They were removed out of the car when the cage was fitted and we couldn't reuse them. So we're going to replumb it all. We're tackling both lots of lines at the same time because they're going to follow a similar route along the tunnel. We're starting by fitting one of our laser cut plates to mount the hydraulic handbrake. In this case, we're drilling the tunnel out and using nutserts as we don't trust the factory threads. While we're at it, we'll fit a brand new clutch master cylinder and a brand new slave cylinder and use an Aeroflow stainless steel braided line to link the two together. So this gives you some idea about how we've routed the fuel lines in this car. We do have to change the design from time to time depending on the setup, and we did have a lengthy debate about how we were going to terminate the fuel lines at the tank. We'll come back to that shortly. Right, let's get on to the brakes. The hardest part to source for this car is one of the simplest, the brake master cylinder. You'd think, being fitted to so many different types of Subaru, that this would be an easy thing to get hold of. However, there's just a supply chain issue and nobody anywhere in Australia has got any stock of brand new master cylinders. So in the end, we've used a good second-hand one. And then onto the rest of the hardware, so the hydraulic handbrake and the brake bias valve, which we did make a bracket up for as well. With that all in, we can then fabricate the lines to suit. Mate, there are more comfortable places to lay down than underneath the dash of the car there, mate.
Pulling up.
Power nap time. Righto, let's get back to the fuel system, the tank and terminating the lines. It started inside the fuel tank with the pump. We used a TI Performance pump or Walbro, which we use quite regularly, and removed the factory pipes and barbs and fitted some Aeroflow fittings. We used a similar setup in our Galant VR4 build, so if you haven't seen that video then I'll leave a link here. Whilst Subaru's placement of the fuel tank is great from a weight perspective, and it's not too bad in terms of access for the pump, getting the fuel lines on and off though, well, that's a different story. To make things easier required a bit of redesign. First thing to go was the factory tank cover, which sits in the back seat area. We fabricated a new plate, carefully marked out the holes and drilled them, and then fitted rubber grommets and slotted them over the aeroflow fittings. We could then bolt our fuel lines directly over the top of the fuel pump. This setup is much easier and faster from a servicing perspective and also maintains compliance with the rules. Rightio, we are progressing with the build of the Forest weapon. Maybe not as quickly as we would like, however it is getting there slowly. Whether we're going to get this one done in time for the last rally of the season, don't know. There's been a little bit of debate in the workshop about that. The last thing we want to do is rush the build, bodge things together, and then take it out to an event and the thing breaks down on us or goes off into the bush. So we may have to delay this until the start of next season, and at least we can get everything done properly and tested and make sure that it all works. And of course, we've got to get the engine running yet and then get it on the dyno and tune it, so that will just depend on how our tuner goes with all that sort of stuff as well. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the progress of our Forest weapon. We are moving along, which means that we will get the videos out a bit quicker. Please like, it is important for the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe, and we'll catch you again soon. Cheers.